Hello again. Welcome to another session of Good Night Meditation. Nice to be with you again. Today we're going to explore the topic of simple truths that can spark joy within. And when we think about this topic, if you think for yourself, was there anything in your experience of life that once you understood something that it brought just a sense of freedom and joy in life that you didn't have before you had that understanding? So when I was thinking about that, in this study of Raj Yoga, there's a few things that in the beginning, when I was introduced to this knowledge and became aware of these possibilities, that it just opened up a very different way of seeing life that just was very almost magical, you could say, as far as how things were dealt with and seen and approached. So just want to take a few moments before we go into our meditation practice, just to explore those a little bit deeper. And first, most important aspect that touched the heart here was understanding that the true being within each one is beyond harm. And these words may have been heard in the past, but to really think about what does that mean for each one. And these, points that we'll touch on today are for each one to explore and experiment with and see if it makes sense for you. Not something that needs to be accepted just because it's being shared here, but for us to make our own decision once we've had enough exposure, information, and understanding of these topics. So for me, when I first understood that the soul, the real being, is beyond harm, there was just this feeling of freedom from fear of death, freedom from fear of harm to this body, that would be something that would be permanently affect me. But that separation from me that I used to think of was this body, and coming to an understanding that the real me is the soul that is non-physical and can't be harmed by anything in the physical world. And so it's hard to explain in words, but that lightness and that feeling of immortality, what that feels like, to be beyond death is not a small thing, and really changed the way things were seen, things were viewed and experienced. And similarly, the second point is that all souls are beyond harm. And so sometimes, in a family, there would be fear of family members or friends being harmed. And we didn't want that to be the case. And so a lot of worry and concern a lot of thoughts were, around that, making sure children are safe, making sure your family and friends are safe from harm to the body. But once it's understood again that they too are eternal beings on a journey, and that just because there may be something that may happen to the body, which that's not something that we would want regardless, but knowing that ultimately they too are safe brought a lot of peace internally here. And allowing children to explore things was a lot easier with this awareness, especially when daughter started driving, etc. These simple truths made such an impact on how um, seeing things differently helped have some bring some additional joy and clarity and lightness. The other aspect that comes to mind also is that, you know, the whole journey of the soul, that we're all visiting actors here in this physical world, and that we, you know, are playing parts, and our parts may be different, and sometimes we see parts being acted out that are not so pleasant, but knowing again that these are just parts that we're acting out, and that they're not necessarily having any kind of long-term impact, just like an actor that's acting in a film. Once they finish the film, the actor goes home with his family and is beyond anything that happened in the story of the film, storyline of the film. So similarly, when there's that little bit of separation, understanding that this is a possibility to explore again, not to just accept blindly, but is it a possibility that we could consider? And if that's so, how would that change how we see ourselves and our parts in this film? And how would we act differently? So, those are some of the basic things that I wanted to share with you that has helped me to see life differently. I also, finally, the point that as human beings acting out our parts here, that we are ultimately all divine beings that have goodness in the core of our being. And when we see others playing out their parts, which may be necessary for the movie, the film, that are not so good, understanding that that actor behind is not reflected through the actions of the actor. It's just a part. And so not judging anyone based on their part, that was just scripted that way, again, allows us to be detached and independent emotionally from some of the scenes that may not be so pleasant that we may have to see towards the final episodes of a film, for example. So as we go into this practice today, keeping these aspects in mind and exploring them for yourselves, along with the meditation and even afterwards, to see how it impacts your life. So hopefully you'll have fun playing with that. And let's start today by remembering those truths, the basic awareness and understanding that we are truly non-physical beings of light that are visiting actors playing out our parts, that ultimately are divine, loving, innocent beings that belong to the divine family, and that we also come from a home that is eternal, eternally there for all of us to return to when the film is finished. And in this home, we can notice certain things that are distinct from the drama or the story world. In this home, we notice there is silence, because there are no bodies to move or speak with. There is an experience of very deep peace that is the natural state of the soul. And this also includes a feeling of stability and strength that comes from that awareness of the immortality of the self and the eternity of this region. That exists forever. And there's nothing that needs to be changed here, nothing to be made better, nothing to fix, and nothing to finish. Because all are in that original state of complete fullness, that original state of perfection. Similar to the perfection that we see in our Supreme Father, that being of divine light, divine consciousness that is filled with benevolence and wisdom, that can see the big picture and all these truths that are there for each one to explore and experience. The sense of right and belonging is there for each one. But as actors, we also have that interest, according to our part, to come down and play in the physical world with our family of actors. And so both worlds have their unique joy and experiences. And at this time, it's like a special time where we can experience both worlds at the same time. So each time we take that minute or two to remember our home, our family, and ourselves as we really are. that natural joy of these truths emerge, become alive once again. So holding these awarenesses as we play our part with full clarity of the contrast between the home of silence and the world of action and actors playing out their parts. We appreciate the difference. But enjoy both worlds. That gift of each moment. So welcome each of you to practice and play with these ideas and see, does it make sense for you? Om Shanti and good night.